Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it may be when you guys are tuning in to this broadcast. I am your international award winning author, literary extraordinaire, and inspiring coach, Toneal M. Jackson. And I want to welcome you guys to another episode of Inspirational Talk with Toneal. I want to talk really quickly. I am supposed to be joined by a guest on today. And so, since today is not today, but October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, I wanted to take the time to kind of talk a little bit about domestic violence and what it is and what is not, and just kind of clear the air about certain things and let you guys know about certain things, questions that you may have. And so, again, as we're going through this, feel free as you're coming on to say hello, say where you're watching from. Let me know if you have any questions. You can feel free to always post your comments and your questions in the comment section. As long as it is respectful, then we're always appreciating it. But I want to kind of set the stage to the fact that, again, October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. This is something that I want to say, I think it started back in 1987. And then we also, I wanted to let you guys know that even though this is Tuesday, Thursday, so every Thursday throughout the month of October, Thursdays are looked upon as being the action day where you are encouraged to take action in regards to domestic violence, right? So, really quickly, I want to read for you all what domestic violence is, because what I have found, even in my just in me creating more awareness about myself, like, I think that I always thought that domestic violence was simply physical abuse, right? But the definition for domestic violence is violent or aggressive behavior within the home, typically involving the violent abuse of a spouse or a partner, right? And so many times when we think about domestic violence, we typically think that the man is the aggressor. We think that it's just about physical behavior. But when you are being abused, it is not just physically, it can also be mentally, emotionally, sexually, um, psychologically. There's so many different ways in which a person can be abused. And so, joining me today is my guest. She is the author of the upcoming book entitled My Butterfly Transformation. She is also a domestic violence survivor, and so I know that we're going to delve into that. And so I hope that you welcome, or I ask that you help to welcome my guest on today, none other than Miss Tonia Reaves. Hello, Miss Tonia.
Hello.
Uh-oh. You just muted yourself. It looked like you on the road.
Okay, there I am. I'm sorry, I hit the button twice. Yes, I am
No
doing fine.
problem.
How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Now, I don't want you to be talking and driving. Is it a way that, because I would
I'm
not
finna
want to on my.
I'm finna pull up to this park and park real fast.
All
Just
right,
give me
all
a
right.
second.
So we are going to allow you to do that.
Okay.
And while Tanya is doing that, again, as you all are coming on, I ask that you please be sure to tag somebody that you believe will benefit from this broadcast, as well as be sure to hit the share button. Because, again, while this entire broadcast is not going to be about domestic violence, because this is Domestic Violence Month, then we do want to make sure that we bring that topic to the forefront, because this is something that many people don't talk about. In many circles, it is considered something that is taboo, that people kind of tend to ignore if it's something that's going on in the family. And many of us may have known about situations that was going on between different parties, whether it was people in our family or friends or anything like that. We knew about the situation, but maybe we felt as though it was not our business or it was not our place to talk about it. And so I'm going to once Tanya gets situated, she may go out and come back in. But we're going to talk to her about her own personal story, right? Because here's the thing, as it pertains to domestic violence, there are so many different ways that this can affect you. Okay, so you can be someone who it physically happened to, or you can be someone who witnessed it growing up. And earlier this year, I had the privilege of being part of one of my girlfriend's events. Her name is Lachelle Evans Beard, and she does a 5K walk in recognition of domestic violence awareness, and just trying to ensure that people know about what it is, and again, bringing awareness and education about this topic. And so in either case, um, when I was with Lachelle in her event, she asked for me to speak about my connection with domestic violence, right? And so in either case, for me, whereas it was not necessarily that it physically happened to me, I did have a situation in which I grew up in a home that was physically abusive, right? And it's not something I talk about all the time, but there was not the best at that time chemistry between my mom and my dad. May they both rest in peace. And so growing up, it was really scary to come home sometimes, because you really didn't necessarily know what was going to happen. You didn't know what you were going to witness, you know. And so when you're young and you're growing up and you're seeing this, you don't know how to digest it, right? You don't know how you're supposed to process seeing your parents involved in coming to blows, or you don't know how to process different things that you may see or you may hear. And so I'm simply saying all this without going into a lot of deep details. I'm simply saying this to make sure to our parents that's out here to understand that even if you choose to be in a relationship that may not be the healthiest, let's put it like this, it may not be the most functional, please understand that even if you're doing things and you don't think that your children are able to see it, or you think that they're asleep or whatever, understand that in many cases the children, they see, they know, and at the very least they're able to feel that tension, and those things can have an actual traumatic effect on that child. And so now I think that Tanya is back. I believe that we have her situated now. And so again, we are going to welcome her to the show. So hello, Miss Tanya. How are
Hello,
you?
hello. I'm
All
doing
right.
fine. How are you?
I am great. I tried to have on my little purple, trying to represent Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And so we just wanted to talk on today. You know, this is what we do. We just have a conversation. And so you have a lot of wonderful things going on. I do
Yes,
want to talk about specifically with this being Domestic Violence Awareness Month. I know that not only are you a survivor, but you're also an advocate. So let's start the
yes.
show off talking about just kind of like your connection, if you will, to domestic violence, why this is that you decided to be an advocate for domestic violence.
Okay, so for starters, I was of course you said I was a victim of domestic violence, but I also grew up in a home where there was a bit of domestic violence. I don't like to, put put other people's my
Absolutely,
family's
I
business
was there.
out, but
Yeah.
at the end of the day, that's what happened. So I saw it, and it affected me as a child growing up. It caused some other things to happen to me, such as my issue with child molestation and things like that happened to me. And so as I got older, I always thought in my mind I wasn't going to allow somebody to hit me. And I
Mhm,
thought that meant fighting back. I didn't
mhm,
realize that the fighting period was the issue. and that I shouldn't have even allowed myself to be in a situation where I had to physically defend myself against someone who was supposed to protect me. And
Mhm.
so that being said, I'm growing up in that, and I, dated several different guys where I not necessarily had to deal with physical abuse, but emotional abuse, neglect, and all of that. I never knew that all of that was considered domestic
Yeah.
violence, and I'm pretty sure they probably didn't either, because we saw it. It became a normal thing to see in a black family, and I'm sure other races deal with it as well. But I specifically say the black family because of all the things that we already have, all of the odds that we already have stacked up against us in the first place.
Mhm.
But for us to have to deal with domestic violence, like my whole issue is we we're supposed to be a team. We're supposed to be a family. We're supposed to protect each other, and we're supposed to take care of each other. I should never have to be afraid of my husband. I should never have to duck. He
That's
should never raise his hand at me, let alone use his voice to degrade me or belittle me. And so that being said, all of the experience that I had as a child growing up, and saw the things that I saw as a teenager and things that I saw in my own adult life, it prompted me to do something to protect other women and to help other women and men to get out of those situations. And I also just recently realized that I needed to include the men, because I have three sons who experienced domestic violence with me, who are now adults. And
mhm.
in order for me to help the family structure, I had to include the men in my programs. And,
Mhm.
at the beginning, I didn't, because I was afraid that the women wouldn't feel safe. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying?
Mhm.
Some women have triggers when it comes to men being in the room full of domestic violence survivors. They're not realizing that those men are also survivors as well.
That's good. And I want to stop you right there so that we can highlight that point. And I wish I had the statistic, but even if I had the statistic, it still wouldn't be 100% accurate, because I
Right.
think, especially in the society that we live in, it is really underestimated how many men are actually
Yeah.
victims of domestic violence, because with the
Right.
society that we live in, it's oh, men are strong, men are tough, so they equate tough with physique. So if you're
Right.
big, then that means that you must not be able to be victimized. And again,
Right.
domestic violence does not always reference physical abuse, but it can also be
Mhm.
mental and emotional and psychological abuse as well. So when you first found out, because you were saying how you were kind of surprised to hear about it, like what what happened where you first learned that men also are victims of domestic violence?
Well, I know a couple men who would never hit a woman,
Mm-hmm.
and they took a lot of verbal abuse,
Mm-hmm.
and we didn't look at it because it wasn't physical,
Mm-hmm.
and so we didn't consider it. Well, a lot of men go through verbal abuse and belittling from their wives, and I know some men who actually had some physical issues happen to them, and they just don't hit back, unless it's a thing where it's your quick reflexes. When
Mm-hmm.
somebody hits you, your
It's
natural
like
is
a
to hit
natural
back,
response. Yeah.
and then it's like, oh wait, let me get away from you because I don't want to hit you. And I
Mm.
and I know a guy personally that he left a whole state to get away from the
Wow.
person that was abusing him, because he didn't want to go to jail for hitting her back. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? And he's like, I don't hit women, but it's only so much a human being can take. And if I hit her, it's gonna be bad because he's a big guy and she was
Mm-hmm.
small like me. So
Mm-hmm.
if he would have hit her, it would have been devastating to her. So he was like,
Mm-hmm.
he knew his size was gonna demolish her, and he didn't want to, do that, because he would have had to live with that for the rest of his life.
Right.
And he
Yeah.
said he didn't want to have to go home and tell his mom, I hit so and so.
Mhm,
You know what I'm saying?
mhm,
He has a mother who went through domestic violence. He has
mhm,
aunties and cousins that went through it. He's like, I have a household full of women. How I look going home telling them I punched her or pushed her or slapped her. And he says
Mm-hmm.
the only thing I could do is grab her and hold her so that she couldn't hit me anymore.
Wow.
And I
Wow.
had to hold her there until the police came.
Mm-hmm.
Because if
I
I'd have let
wonder
her
if they
go,
believed them. I wonder if they believed them once they got there to, because I know of, as you say, different males who were victims and they called the police and the police didn't believe them because
no,
they were the man.
right. And that happens a lot. Unless you get a police officer who's also going through
Mm-hmm.
it, and they know what the man is going through, and then you get some that just don't want to believe that it's always the woman is right. Because I had a situation when I was going through my domestic violence. I It was snowing outside. It was a really bad snowstorm outside. When I tell you the snow was thigh high, not knee deep, but thigh high.
Wow.
Um, I had to call the police. And when they got to my house, it took them about an hour and 25 to 30 minutes to get there because of the snow. And once they got there, they victim shamed me.
Mm.
And instead of them dealing with him, they turned the tables on me because when they came in the house, I was irate.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't
Mm-hmm.
take into consideration that this man just got done beating me. And now that he finds out that the police are coming, he's instantly calm. But I'm
Mm.
still hysterical because I just got beat up.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
hollering and screaming and hysterical, trying to get my story out. I'm hyperventilating, and they took that as I was the aggressor.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Mm-hmm.
really sad. And I try to tell women, when you are going through a physical situation, try to stay calm because they will definitely come in there and try to act like you were the aggressor. You were the one that was in the wrong, especially when you get male officers who are probably domestic violence abusers as well. You just never know what you're getting in those situations. They
Mm-hmm.
shamed me, and I caught one of them doing this like she's cuckoo behind my head, and I'm like, really, you just did that behind my head? Like I was shocked, and I get some ladies who say that they have no faith in the justice system when it comes to domestic violence, so they suffer in silence. They won't call the police again because they're not getting the help that they're supposed to get. And in my case, the judge pulled the case out. Well, I was going to see Judge A.
Mm-hmm.
Judge B pulled my case in his courtroom. I don't know how he was able to do that, but I went from Judge A, who was ready to give me my justice, to Judge B, who was ready to let my husband walk.
Wow.
And he
Wow.
did exactly that. And so I kind of blew up in the courtroom, and I just started telling him that if anything happens to me and my children, our bloodstains are on your hands
Mm-hmm.
because you decided to say that what my husband did wasn't that bad, and that
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to make him out to be a monster. And so everything got reduced. His charges got reduced, from felonies to misdemeanors.
Mm-hmm.
And there were guns involved, bombs involved, all kind of crazy stuff. And this judge just decided, you know what, we're not gonna press the issue. She's just making this up. She's making a bigger deal out of it than what it is. She just wants you to go to jail. I
Wow.
was shocked. I was
Yeah.
shocked, and I'm gonna write a book about that situation by itself.
So that's
But
his own story.
my goodness. But either how even 20 years later, it hadn't been that long, but I say about this happened in 2006. In 2017, the same judge, I don't know how he did this, but he eliminated my order of protection. He
Wow.
terminated my order of protection. I was
Wow.
never contacted to come to court to even find out if I still needed it. And all I knew is one day I got a phone call from my ex-husband. And I was like, I'm getting ready to call the police. He said, you do what you have to do. And I was like, he said that like he was confident. And
Mm-hmm.
for some reason, I had to pull up my records, my marital records, my divorce decree and all that stuff, because I had to prove my last name was changed legally to
Mm-hmm.
something. And when I went to the courthouse, they couldn't find my paperwork. And so when they finally found it, it was somewhere it wasn't supposed to be.
Wow.
Stuffed somewhere. Somebody tried to hide it. And when they pulled it out, somebody had wrote all over it.
Wow.
You know, when you
That's
go to court, they supposed to get a whole new document. They made
mm,
notes on the original documents, and they can't find the originals. They have copies of everything.
wow. That's crazy. For those of you who may just now be tuning in, hello to Miss Alicia. But for those of you who may just now be tuning in, I am talking to author and domestic violence survivor, Miss Tonia Survives, as she's known on Facebook, and we are just kind of going over one account of her stories because October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and so she wouldn't be an advocate if she did not come to share her story and then to also kind of give some warning signs as well as some tips of what you can do. So, like, let's say that you have somebody, because at this point, we don't want to say a woman. There could be a male or a female who is being the victim there in this unfortunate situation. How would you encourage? Well, I don't want to say encourage them to leave, but if they knew that it was time to go, they've gone through situations, but for whatever reason, it's hard for them to leave. What are some things that they can do?
Well, I'm gonna first say, in my own, because I don't like to give advice on specific stuff, because if they did something I said and they end up getting killed, I could be held,
Mhm,
liable. So what I will say is this: you do need to get you a safety plan. You need to find somebody that you know that you can trust, that may not know your abuser.
mhm, mhm,
That you know that you have a plan set up. If something happens to me, I'm gonna call you and I'm gonna give you this code, and that code means I'm in trouble and I need your help. I need a place to stay and I might need a ride. Are you in agreement with that? Can you provide that for me? Can you do that for me? That's number
mhm,
one. Oh, number one is pray. That's number two. Number two. So number three is you want to make sure that you have some money. Somehow, some way, have some money stashed. Or if you have a family member like your mother or your father or somebody that you know that can keep your money, that won't, you know, spend your money or tell your abuser what you're doing. You want to have some type of secret safety plan. Try not to write it down nowhere because they go through your things. My ex-husband went through my notebooks and he found out a lot of my stuff that I was trying to do to protect myself. Um, so those are like the major things. You want to have um, always have a to-go bag ready. You know what I'm saying? Have a bag with some emergency clothing, if toiletries, women's hygiene products, stuff for your kids. Always have a to-go bag ready. So when that time comes, if you have to run, you just grab what you got to grab, and you ain't got to worry about the rest. You at least got two to 3 days worth of changes of clothes for you and your children. Um, always keep some money. I wouldn't say a stash of food or snacks because you might not, you know what I'm saying? That might look suspicious. Why do you have a bag of food? Unless you just want to keep a box of groceries somewhere where you're saying, oh, I'm going to donate that to charity or whatever. That could be
mhm,
like a box of food and snacks or something that you need on an emergency basis. If you do not share a car with your spouse, then if it's your own car, then I would say keep that stuff in the trunk.
mhm,
Put a blanket over it so that it doesn't look obvious. Um, and that's pretty much what I would say. And always keep an emergency shelter that you would prefer to go to, or someplace that you know you can contact, like the 1-800 numbers for domestic violence hotlines? Always keep that stuff in your phone. Don't save it under domestic violence hotline. Save it under something that only you know. You just put it under Susie. Just make up a fake name and put it under that, and keep those things on speed dial. Or your emergency person, whoever's going to be that person to come pick you up, put that person under a fake name under speed dial. Um, if it's your pastor, church, or whatever the case may be, you just need to make sure you have an emergency plan set up. Um, in my case, my emergency plan was my mother, and my situation was not planned out. It just happened. And the way it happened, it was like I knew that it was God opening up the doors, moving
Mhm.
stuff out the way, um, just basically guiding my feet, directing my path. And it
Mhm.
doesn't happen like that for everybody. So you kind of gotta have a plan in place, and it may not happen exactly like that, but at least you have an idea of what you need to do next. The other thing is you want to make sure that um what's the word, you want to make sure that you have an advocacy plan, meaning once you leave that domestic violence situation, you want to make sure you have a person that you can contact for as legal help. I would suggest Metropolitan Legal Assistance of Chicago. You want to contact them, South Suburban Family Shelter, um, soon to be Life Empowerment and Survival Ministries. I'm trying to open up a facility. I got my 501(c)(3). I'm working on that now. But once I'm open for business to accept people in, I'll post that information. But you still can contact us for emergency assistance. Um, so pretty much those are your majors that you want to make sure that you have in place. As you connect with a domestic violence advocate, they will pretty much walk you through the rest of the way, to make sure that you have everything you need in place. Um, and they usually give you like a free cell phone. Um, I don't know about you all, but I didn't have a cell phone when I left my spouse. I didn't have a cell phone. But nowadays they have the iPhones, and a lot of the cell phones, the smartphones are trackable, traceable. So you want to make sure that you have a phone that your spouse, your abuser, is not able to track.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
that's one of the most important things. You wanna make sure that they not able to do that, find my phone and all that stuff on you, because they
Mhm.
will definitely, especially if you have a person that abusive to they might try to kill you, because that was my situation. My ex-husband wanted to kill me and my children, and he actually had everything planned out, and it was just that God was making me aware of everything that was going on. He kept highlighting stuff. He let me see every situation that he tried to set up for me, and I was like, wow, this dude is crazy. I got to get
Mhm.
away from him. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying?
Well,
So
we thank God that you were able to get away. And again,
yeah.
like what I've done is in the comment section. So whether you guys are watching on Facebook or YouTube, you will be able to see just some of the tips that Tanya was able to give. And again, this isn't a specific plan. So she's not saying, hey, do step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What she's saying is, here are some things that can help you if you find yourself in an abusive situation and you know that you need to go. Here are some things that you can do. And so I just jotted down some of them. So if you guys are watching it, again, one of the tips she shared was to have a to go bag ready. And I put bag, but it should say to go bag ready. Have a to go bag ready. Keep your domestic violence hotline numbers handy. And again, as she said, make them conspicuous. So don't put domestic violence number in your phone, save it under a friend's name, devise an advocacy plan. So make sure that you're able to get legal help. Hello, Miss Beatrice. So there are so many other things that you guys are also able to do. But I want to just, as she was talking, I want to jot some of those things down because, again, whether it is for you or maybe even someone you know that finds yourselves in that situation, because many times what I've found is that we automatically assume that people are in a situation because that's the situation they want to be in. But there are times when they just can't get out. They don't know how, or they're by
Right.
themselves. And so this is one of the things that we want to do is just be able to kind of equip you all again and help you to be able to equip someone who may be going through this situation. And so not only are you a survivor, but again, as I said, you help to give back. And one of the things you do, you have an event. So why don't you tell us about the event that you do, how that is all, how it works out, who it goes to benefit? Tell us about that.
Okay, so on October the 29th and 30th, I have my annual domestic violence awareness. Usually I just do one day, but this year I'm doing 2 days. Reason being, this is my 50th birthday as well, so I'll be celebrating. Thank you. So the 29th is my book release event, which is on October 29th from 7 to 10 p.m. in Sauk Trail, 3701 Sauk Trail in Richton Park, Illinois. And then the next day is my prayer brunch, which is also going to be in the same location from 12 to 5. And I have on Saturday, I have Yolanda Carter, who is also a domestic violence advocate. One Eyewitness is her book. She's an author, of course, award-winning author. She is going to be one of my speakers on Saturday. And then I also have a spoken word poet. His name is Momentum Garrett. He's a well-known Chicago artist who will be there giving us some rhymes to and some music. So we'll have a good time. I also have a karaoke thing going on. So we'll be doing karaoke night on Friday, and then on Saturday we'll be doing the spoken word, and we'll be listening to Yolanda's testimony. And hopefully we will have some praying people in the house. I know we will because I'm going to be praying as well.
Come on.
Um, I'm not going to do much talking on Saturday because I'm going to just enjoy everybody else. That's my birthday, so I'm going to relax that day. But Friday, I'll be speaking about my book. The proceeds that is raised for both days will be going towards my life empowerment and survival ministries, so that we can get started on being able to better protect our women and children. Um, and men too, if they are domestic violence survivors. We're going to make sure that we have programs in place to provide emergency housing via hotel room stays, a couple nights. We want to try to up it to where we can at least give them a week or two until they're able to get to a safer environment. Right now, we do one night, 2 night. We want to do at least a week, and hopefully a month. We don't have a whole lot of people that come in because so many people suffer in silence regarding domestic violence, and that's one of the things that I want to try to put an end to, because what is happening is they don't know who to call, and they don't know when they do call, they're not getting any assistance. Um,
Mhm.
Either the shelters are full or they're closed. Well, I
Mhm.
decided I was going to be open 24/7. I'm not going to ever close my doors. If someone calls me at 2 a.m., I want to be able to say, "Come meet me at this so and so hotel," and I'll pay for them to be there for however long they need to be there. I have emergency food, emergency clothing, whatever it is that they need, I'll have that in place. And so that's the reason why I do the events annually. I'm also stepping it up to where I'm able to receive sponsorships and donors. So if even if a person is not able to come out to the event this weekend, I mean that weekend, I would encourage them to donate. And I'm doing feed the families, feed the survivors' families and everything for Thanksgiving. So if they want to donate $25, that'll purchase a dinner for a family. So my goal is to do no less than 10 families. I would like to do a heck of a lot more, but ten families is my minimum. So you can go to my page, Tonia Reaves, or Life Empowerment Zone and Life Empowerment and Survival Ministries on Facebook. And that way you can get access to the link. I have an Eventbrite link set up so that you can register. And on that link, it gives you three options of payment. You can pay the early bird special, which is $40. You can pay the donor fee, which is $25, or I think it's after the 25th. I gotta go on there and make sure. After the 25th, it'll be $50 to attend. Um, but however, you're gonna get a free autograph book, um, my butterfly transformation, and you're gonna also get a swag bag full of Mary Kay product, samples and things like that. So that is pretty much it for that. If you have any questions, you can always go, inbox me on Facebook or things like that. I'm also on Instagram. Um, and you can get all my contact information that way. That's pretty much it for the event. I hope to see you all in the place. And again, if you're not able to make it out to come help me celebrate my 50th, at
Yes.
least at least send a donation for the families, because I do really want to help the women who are survivors, because you never know. When I left my domestic violence situation, it was in August. We went through August, September, October. I wasn't able to go to work. I had to take a leave of absence from work, because me being at work was making my coworkers unsafe. So
Mhm.
I worked for the state of Illinois, and they basically told me I couldn't come to work. So I was off work for 3 months with no pay. I had to use up all my vacation and sick time for the first month. I say November through September. By October, November, I had no money coming in. I couldn't apply for unemployment because it wasn't an unemployment situation. So I look
Mhm.
at that and think about how many other women are going through that. So going through domestic violence is not just getting away from the physical abuse. It's also
Mhm.
going through a financial struggle, and
Mhm.
that's one of the reasons why I say have some emergency money set aside, because you just never know what the situation will be. But I want to be able to help women who are going through it, to provide Thanksgiving dinner at least. And then
Mhm.
right after that, we're going to be doing a toy drive in December, where I'll be giving away toys. I'm going to send that invite out. Also, it's going to be partnered up with Chuck E. Cheese. I'm going to be giving away Christmas toys to the children. I would need people to pre-register so that I know how many kids are going to be there. So I make sure I have a toy for everybody. My Mary Kate, I'm sorry, my Eastern Star sisters are gonna partner up with me to provide those toys, and I have some other donors and sponsors that are also going to participate. So I just want to make sure that I'm able to not just give them some protection and sense of security, but I also want to help them financially by taking away a burden of being in a situation where they're struggling to buy toys to make Thanksgiving happen for their families. I want them to have a seamless transition. Um, One of the things that I wanted to say also with my domestic violence organization, I'm looking for a building um, where it'll be more like an apartment setting for the families instead of
Mhm.
a shelter, because I want those kids when they leave that domestic violence situation, that's a traumatizing situation that they're going to go through. To be living in a hotel and having to be transferred from hotel to hotel, or from house to house, sleeping on floors and couches, having to spend the night over relatives who really don't want to be bothered. I'd rather for them to be able to go into in an apartment setting where they can live there for 30 days or more, however long that's necessary, where it looks like we just moved into a new apartment versus we in the shelter.
Mm-hmm.
That is one of the struggles that I had to deal with. Me and my children, we went to a hotel, and there was this big concert going on in Tinley Park Holiday Inn. So they told us we couldn't stay there. They had to transfer us to another hotel all the way in the western suburbs somewhere. And it really was frustrating because I didn't have a car.
Yeah. So making that trek was a lie. I know. Well, Deatra says so many aspects to domestic violence and abuse. And then Mary says, 50, what's your secret? And then she just says, God bless you. If people
Thank
want
you.
to donate, what is your cash app?
So dollar sign capital
Mm-hmm.
M
Mm-hmm.
S
Mm-hmm.
all lowercase STREAVES 1030.
Okay. MSTER.
No, MS
Mm-hmm. Okay.
TREAVES 1030.
I
You
got
want
you,
me to
Miss
put
T
it?
Reeves. No, I got it.
Yes.
That's what I'm typing now.
Okay.
So Miss T Reeves. And what was the
Yes.
last part?
1030.
Okay. So
And
you'd
then
like to say Miss T Reeves
I
1030.
also have a Venmo.
Okay. And what's the Venmo?
I'm gonna put my Venmo in the chat chat real
Okay.
fast
Yeah.
because it's
So
really
what I
long.
did, yeah. So what I did was, if there's anybody again on Facebook or YouTube, if you would like to, so you've been hearing, because I know it's a lot. It was a whole lot that she gave you all, but here's the bottom line to it. If you want to help, you can. Okay. So if maybe you know someone who is a domestic violence victim, maybe you know someone who is a survivor. Maybe you don't personally know anyone, but your heart goes out and you're like, how can I help? So, one of the things that you can do, again, we don't have a website to direct you to, but you can go to her page, and I put that up there on Facebook. You can either hit her at Tanya Survives or Life Empowerment Zone, and you can connect with her there. And she is promoting her event that is coming up on October 29th and 30th. So even if you cannot attend those events, whether you're not in Chicago or just not able, but excuse me, but you want to support, you can do that by going to her cash app, which is dollar sign Miss T Reeves 1030, and you can send a donation there. Or maybe you're a person that's like, you know what, I feel you, but October just isn't a good month for me to help support. Well, she has something else that she is doing in November for Thanksgiving, where her goal is to feed 10 families. And so, again, you don't have to be limited to the $25. If your heart tells you to give more, then give more. But if you would like to be able to help in that endeavor, then she's asking for a donation of 25. And obviously, even if you can't give 25, anything that you can give would be greatly
Yes,
appreciated. Again, you can go to that same cash app, which is dollar sign Miss T Reeves 1030, and you can cash app her for the Feed the Families venture that she's doing. Or maybe you're like, you know what, I'm strapped for Thanksgiving too. All right, well, we got something else that you can do. So there's going to be a toy drive where we're trying to give back and help these children, help make them stay encouraged, help them to stay encouraged, help the parents, whether it's a single mom, single dad, or what have you. So if you want to be able to be a blessing there, you can get cash app her again, dollar sign Miss T Reeves 1030. And then if you're the type of person you say, you know what, I don't necessarily have cash, but maybe I want to help volunteer, or maybe I actually have food or toys that I can physically give, then again, that's why we are telling you to hit her up on Facebook or Instagram at Tanya Survives. So you can go to her, connect with her, and then you guys can work all of that out. And whatever you're able to donate, I know that she will definitely appreciate. So, Miss
absolutely.
Tanya, we got all of the heavy stuff out the way. Let's transition these last 15 minutes and let's talk about the celebratory stuff. Girl, you got a book
Yes.
coming out. You done kind of talked about it a little bit. You don't let them know that the name of it is My Butterfly Transformation, and they come to the event and they'll be able to get a free copy. But even if they can't come to the event, y'all can still get the book. It's not a book that's solely for this event. you can get this. It is what we call a journaling experience. So for those of you who like journals, then you can definitely, you will enjoy this book. But let's talk about it. Like, how did you feel about coming to a place of actually putting your name on your own project, because you've been in the anthology, a couple of anthologies before. So how did it feel to have only your name on the front cover?
Well, it is a, what do you call a word that I've been saying this word all day, but now I can't come to me. It's like one of those, it was an empowering moment for me. Um, I felt like part of my dream was manifested. Um, it was my breakthrough moment. That's the word I'm looking for. It was a breakthrough moment for me. And I believe that I'm going to have plenty more breakthrough moments. That was just a taste and see breakthrough moment. So it was awesome. It was like a ton of bricks was lifted off my chest because I finally got my story out.
Mhm.
Um, I've been trying to write this book since I left that abusive situation, which was 17 years ago. And I would start and stop, start and stop, start and stop until finally I said, you know what, I'm doing this. And then I met Listina Martinez, who became my life coach. Um, she pushed me to journal every day. She asked me, what is it that you want to do? And I shared that with her, and she connected me with you, Toneal. She told me about you. We met, and we, hit it off pretty well. And it took me still a little over a year,
But that's okay. You
but
got it done.
I went on and said, you know what? Let me do this. What am I procrastinating about? I wrote the book and then was scared to release it. I thought it sounded crazy. So I went back through it again and I was like, oh my God, I really sat there and did that. I could have just sent the book like it was. Because I was procrastinating about it because I'm like, well, it don't sound right.
Mhm.
It's out of order, just all kind of excuses. And so
Mhm.
finally I said, let me go ahead and hit the submit button. So I went on ahead and did my edits and sent it to you, and there it was.
You know
So
what? Well, Deatra says she is getting the book, so that is awesome. And so
thank
we
you,
will let
Deatrice.
everybody know when you guys will be able to get it. It will be available on Amazon, but you gotta wait until 10/29. 10/29.
Yes.
Everybody else is able to get it. You guys will be able to get it on Amazon. So now that you all seasoned and everything, you got this whole author thing under your belt. What would you say to those other authors who may be new, or even they're just aspiring to do this and they have those same issues overtaking them? What would you say to them so that way they can do like you did and get that book done?
Number one is don't overthink it.
That's good.
Um, Overthinking it becomes sabotage.
Hmm.
That's number one. Number two is get you a great um accountability partner, somebody that's gonna push you, somebody that's gonna coach you, somebody that's gonna talk you through it.
Hmm.
Stay away from naysayers. Um, do not share um your dreams with people who you know don't have your best interest at heart. If
That's
you
good.
know that they're prone to down talk your dream, just let them see it when
Hmm.
it's done. Show them the
Hmm.
finished product. If they're not your cheerleaders, they don't need to know what's happening. Just
Hmm.
let them see when you standing there with your plaque in your hand saying thank you, Lord, for you know giving credits and honors to what they do. Um, I would say just don't give up on yourself. Don't quit and connect with Toneal.
I will take that one. I would definitely take that one. And let me say this in what you were saying. It is so critical that you get around people who believe like you believe. I say that
Yes.
all the time. So whether you are talking about, supporters, like even within APS, we are all like-minded individuals. We may not write the same genre, we might not all write books. We have people in APS that are writing films and documentaries and plays and things like that. But when you are of a creative mentality, so you are that artist, so whether it's a literary, visual, or performance artist, like we thrive on our creativity. And like you said, when you have people who are shutting you down because they don't get the vision, you have to be very careful if you are not empowered enough to be on fire without their praise, right? Because
Right.
sometimes, you surround yourself and you have put all this power in their hands. And if they don't get it, then you're like, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't do it. Then you go into the questioning yourself. And when you combine doubt with procrastination, it's a great chance that it's not going to get done. But if you surround yourself by people who believe like you believe, so people who can say to you, you know what, Tanya, I know you're going to get the book done and I know it's going to be incredible. I say all the time, I don't know if Mary is still watching or not, but Mary was my assistant for a very long time. And Mary spoke into me when I didn't see myself. Like, she would always say to me, she called me international before I ever won my first international award. Like, she saw in me what I didn't even see in myself. And so it's so important to understand that that's a difference between a yes person versus a person who sees who you can be, right? And so when you
Absolutely.
have somebody who speaks that into you, that helps to encourage you and to keep you going when you feel like giving up. Because the truth is, you gonna feel like giving up.
Yes. You
You
and
gonna
in
feel like
fact,
giving up.
I gave up how many times?
We ain't gonna talk about that. That don't matter.
So just what I would say is even when you feel like it, when you don't feel like it, do it anyway. Um
Yes.
when a person is telling you that, oh, I think you should do this and think, those are the people you want to keep out of your ear, because you got to think about it.
Mhm.
Whatever your situation is, I'm a domestic violence survivor. So that
Mhm.
means that I had somebody not only physically abuse me, but mentally beat my confidence level till I felt this big.
Yeah.
So now I I measured myself on that, and I had to push my way up until I
Mhm.
felt more confident, and that I
Mhm.
loved myself again, and that I was able to look at myself the way God sees me. And that's
Mhm.
one of my prayers. I always, and I would encourage you to do the same. Ask God to show you what He sees when He
Mhm.
looks at you,
Mhm.
and to show you and help you be what He wants you to be versus what that man or woman beat into your thought process.
Mhm.
Because when you start believing what the enemy said about you, it's really, really hard to dig your way out. It's like somebody drop you in a pit of quicksand and you trying to dig your way back out of that.
Ah.
That is the worst feeling. And once you get out of it, you it's a breath of
Mhm.
fresh air. You can finally breathe and do whatever it is that you want to do. Even if it's not writing a book, it could be singing a song. It could be starting your own candle business, whatever your dream is, whatever it is that you wanted to do. You could be a designer, you could be another domestic violence advocate, whatever
Mhm.
it is.
Mhm.
As long as it's something that you dreamed of and something that you thought could happen, then act
Mhm.
on it. Don't allow nobody, not even that little voice in your head, to tell you
Mhm.
you can't make it, to tell you you can't achieve your goals. I would always say, listen to what God said about you.
Mm-hmm. That's good. That's good. And I can't believe it, but we are already basically at the end of this hour. So we're definitely going to have to bring you back because we didn't even get to talk about the upcoming anthology. So you have so much that you're doing, Tanya. And just like from me to you, heart to heart, I want to tell you that I'm so proud of you
Thank
because you
you.
definitively don't look like what you've gone through. I've read the story, so I know. I mean, and even in that, I don't know everything. I know what that story is. I know some of your portions for this upcoming anthology, but even in that, I don't know your entire story. And
Yeah.
despite that, despite all of the things that you have endured, you have not allowed that to stop you from walking in your purpose. And I just want to tell you, congratulations. I want to tell you, I am proud of you. Keep on doing what you're doing. I mean, the fact that, again, you have turned all of that energy around to write your first book. You're a part of an anthology. You have your own ministry. And in that, you're helping other women as well. And so, in either case, guys, I want to definitely thank my guest, Miss Tonia Survives, as she's known on Facebook, but her name is Tonia Reaves. I want to thank her so much, and I want to encourage you all to continue to, help one another as you can. Stop looking at the situation that you are in and feeling as though that, it's the worst that it can be. No matter how bad it is, it can always be worse, and you always have the opportunity to be a help to someone else. So again, if you listen to this broadcast, you listen to the interview, you've heard Tanya's story, you heard her say, the various things that she's been through, but what she did was she used that as an opportunity to be able to open a door for someone else. And so if you want to help Tanya in her endeavors in helping other, not just women, but other individuals who have been victims of domestic violence. Again, connect with her, whether it's Facebook or Instagram at Tanya Survives. You can also go to her fan page, which is Life Empowerment Zone, to connect with her and get more information. If you're like, you know what, I'm good with just giving a donation, then you can hit her up on Cash App at $Miss T Reeves, whether that is to donate for her upcoming event on October 29th and the 30th. That's going to be geared toward domestic violence survivors. You heard her talk about that event. Yolanda Carter, author of One Eyewitness, she is going to be a speaker for that event. So if you want to donate to that, you can. You can also use that same Miss T Reeves, $Miss T Reeves 1030, to donate if you want to help her to feed families for Thanksgiving. You heard her talk about that. The initiative is to feed 10 families minimally for Thanksgiving. And then she also has something coming up in December with being able to help children and with this toy drive. So there are so many awesome and empowering things that she is doing. And so any amount that you are able to donate, I know that she would appreciate. Deatrice says that she loved this and that she's proud of Tanya as well, and that she inspires her. And this is what I'm trying to tell you guys. When I'm coming on with Inspirational Talk with Toneal, whether it be the on Tuesdays with the I'm Glad to Be a Woman edition, so typically that means that my guest will be female, or the Thursday Creating Powerful Black Man edition, which you guessed it, means that my guest will be Black men. Um, when we're coming with these different guests, the whole point is, number one, yes, we do want to inspire you, but we also want for you to understand and be able to recognize that it's not just celebrities that's doing great things. It's not just people that are, wealthy and the Bill Gates of the world that's doing great things. You have people literally right next door to you that's doing something to make impact and to affect change. And that's really what we are all about, affecting change in a positive way. And so if you know someone that you would want to see, if you want to be a guest on Inspirational Talk with Toneal, then you guys can also hit me up. If you're not already connected with me, feel free to connect with me on Facebook. Let me see what banner I can give y'all. So that way you can connect with me. But if you want to connect with me, then feel free to do so. In the very near future, we are going to open up sponsorship opportunities so that if you want to have a commercial played, if you want to have your banner on here, you want to get your message out, then we will have sponsorship opportunities available. But again, I want to thank all of you all who took the time to tune in, whether you watch it live or you watch it on a replay. Know that I do appreciate you. And I ask that if you enjoyed what you heard, that you please tag somebody that you believe would benefit from watching this broadcast, or take a moment and hit that share button. It takes less than 20 seconds to hit the share button. And so I just want to thank you guys so much and encourage you also to go and listen to the podcast. I'm gonna have to create a banner for it, but I want you guys to go and subscribe or listen to the podcast. It's the Educated and Empowered podcast that I have that's on Anchor. So I'm going to say, let me put this on here. I want you to listen to the podcast. I just released two, I think it's two new episodes today. And so what I want you guys to do, if you can, please go back and go to anchor.fm/educated and empowered, right? So hopefully I spelled that right. And so that's what I want you all to do. So go to the podcast, anchor.fm/educated and empowered. And again, at this point, I'm not asking for a donation. If you want to give a donation for the podcast, you can. But at this point, I'm just asking that you go and that you take a listen. I have a few different episodes there. You can listen to them. You can listen to them while you're at work, on the way home, en route to wherever you're going. If you want to become a subscriber, I really would appreciate that. But there's so much that we are doing with this educated and empowered movement between the podcast, the Facebook pages, the live broadcast. We have our online store, I am educated and empowered.com, where you can get apparel, accessories, and more. So much stuff that we're trying to do simply to make sure that you stay educated and empowered. So I love you all so much. Thank you for tuning in. And until next time, you guys stay inspired.